pass the headset over to Tom.
Thank you, Rita. Rita's here on her own, and she's a very capable person, as you know. Her husband, Peter Offen's in London, gone to a health camp, show him how to lose weight. So, good luck. That's what I say. It never seems to work. Anyway, look, we've got a 30-minute chart up here of the S&P 500. There's no special reason why I've got a 30-minute up. You can read and look at any of these time frames. But this is as good as any, I suppose. Basically, the market hasn't been doing a lot. It's been going sideways. However, it is appear to be overall weak, although there's a little bit of strength appearing, I think, at the moment in the chart. Now, Rita, I'm going to ask her to draw two trend lines on this chart. Right? Now, Rita?
Yep. So we'll put more bars up. Yep.
Okay, yeah, put a few more bars up. I find it difficult to look at a chart without trend lines on. So the first two lows here. Yeah, and the first high. Do you need that? That's it. Well, that's the traditional way Wyckoff told everybody to draw trend lines. First two lows, first high. And you could see it does sort of work. Because once you are over this trend line, you are overbought and vulnerable to being caught in the down move. Now, please, if you've got any questions or any questions, just to feed them in, and Rita sit in front of the screen, and she can read it off to me. Okay, so the market is really not all that easy to read. It's been slipping down for several days. It's sort of weak. But here, this is Friday, so we're quite likely for them to generate a rally of some sort, which they will do to mislead you as much as possible and mislead the media over the weekend. So the media starts coming out with all sorts of stories. I mean, I had somebody working for me for many years, Simon actually, Griffin, and he actually had a job on the floor of one of these big trading houses in London. Okay, so he didn't really like it because they had to be on the floor at 6:30. And seeing he lived near Brighton, it wasn't easy for him. But anyway, the boss came to him one day and said, "Simon, we want you on the news desk." And Simon said, "God, I don't think about news." He said, "Oh, it doesn't matter about that. Make something up." And that's what he had to do. He had to sit at the news desk and make news up. So that gives you an idea to treat news very, very cautiously. And they would go to all sorts of tricks, extreme rumors, or vested interests of other people of telling you the market's going up or down or whatever, but don't trust them. Anyway, it seems to be trending sideways, doesn't it? Look, there's a trend line, clear, 30-minute chart. Now, if we look at this last dip here, we've got fairly high volume, but that would be the opening of the S&P in America, S&P trading pits. Okay, a surge in volume. But what's wrong with that is that the volume is on up bar. What we really wanted to see was high volume on, say, this red bar. If you saw high volume on a red down bar like this, the next bar up, you'd know that at least some professional people were buying. Because if that surge in volume, which by the way is not there, look, had forced the other price up, then they must have been buying. We do have a green arrow.
Potential stopping volume.
Right. Now, of course, the reason for that is that the markets in America's opened, and this here is all the volume for the pre-opening of the overnight trading. So to the computer, that volume down there, although it doesn't look much to us now, looks very high to the computer, and that's why it's called stopping volume. But it probably is, because I always say to Gavin, ignore the signals at your peril. Right? So it went up, too much volume really up. Notice the volume's falling off. Now, demand here, there is definitely no demand. Look, it went up to that top trend line, right, which is already in position. Note how the spread has narrowed. Note how it closed in the middle. And note the volume has fallen right off. The computer's drawn it pink to remind you of that, so that's no demand. That's why it's come off. So if this market now falls and the volume is very low and the spread is narrow, especially if it's lower than this volume here, although it's on that bar, but it's still there, then you expect higher prices. Rita says there's some questions.
Jack mentions when we were doing the trend channel, Tom, Trade Guider software defaults to the latest high. Should we always move it? So it automatically puts it on the latest high. Should we?
Well, of course, I'm, original Wyckoff guy. And that's what he taught us in the beginning, and that's what I always use. And you draw your trend lines. Of course, I always used to have to draw them by hand with long charts, a long ruler, with pencil. And then, of course, if they turned out to be no good, you could rub them out. But I like the first high. That's the rule. Your first two, if the market is potentially bullish or going up, you use the first two lows and the first high. And I think you'll find that overall, that is the best way. Okay? Hang on, Reese's just updating the end of day.
Sorry, Tom's end of day wasn't updated. We were here yesterday doing a stock pick thing for the alert service, so we hadn't updated it since. So let's wait for it to update. But Colin says the daily chart of the ES has shown the mushrooming over effect for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and yeah, that's what we noticed as well. So when we were picking our stocks, we were, you know, as Tom says, that you should be picking in a strong market. If the index is strong, you should be picking stocks that are acting as strong or stronger than the index. And so obviously in a weak market, you want to be picking stocks that are acting as weak or weaker than the index. And let's just put up more bars. There we go, there's our trend channels. And yes, there we noticed there's this mushrooming over effect, but Tom mentioned that he hadn't seen any considerable weakness up here at the time, but it is mushrooming over, which made it also, as we weren't absolutely sure about the market, you know, is it a really bear market now? You know, it made it quite difficult to pick stocks. So yeah, Tom, have you got anything to mention about this?
Well, we follow the index, don't we, quite well in the newsletters every weekend. And as you say, you can see the tops have got this mushroom shape. If you look at the individual bars, every time it goes up, there tends to be no demand and narrowish spreads. And when I say obvious weakness, what it would be high volume on up bars. We haven't seen that yet. So we're certainly not in a bear market, but we're in a weak market. Now, if you're into trading stocks, then you need to pick a stock that's acting or holding its own. Like every time the parent index falls, your stock that you've selected should resist a down move. And that indicates that the floor traders, right, find that particular stock. They've had good fundamental reports on that, and they know that's a good stock, and that's why it's reluctant to fall. There's no such thing as a bargain in the stock market. You'll never find a stock that's fallen from $100 down to $25 and nobody has noticed. And that's a good buy. You'll never ever find that. There's too many clever people out there, backed by too much money. So really, you're really trading on inside information which you can't go to jail on because you're reading it from the chart, not from some other like tips or whatever. It's a very interesting subject of stock market. But as you persevere and as you keep learning to analyze these charts, I mean, so many, you know, the Forex markets are terrific to follow and easy to trade.
And Chris is saying, can you please tell me what mode you use TradeGuider in, partial analysis or live mode? I seem to be getting too many signals. I like the way the signals appear on Tom's charts. Well, I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of looking around here. We're on partial confirmation bar analysis here, so it's under analysis. That's all I can say. Yes, sometimes you can have too many signals coming up. Gordon is saying, I noticed that the gold and silver markets have had big rises. Shall we have a look at gold, Tom?
Yes.
If we go here on the end of day. All right, so that's the bigger picture, Tom. We had this, and then let's go to Do you want less than that, bars? What, 20 you want?
What's his gold?
Yeah.
Well, that's gold market. Look. I don't follow gold. Gavin seems to love it. See, the gold market's got so many what I call amateurs in there that you'll find if you follow a professional traded stock like, say, cotton or wheat or something like that, it obeys the rules that you could recognize much easier because the should we say the herd's not in there. It's all traded by professional people most of the time. And the only people they're trying to manipulate, of course, are the genuine users. Like if you were trading cocoa or something, then you aim for the chocolate manufacturers. They did a big con on those individual companies several years ago, when they alleged there was going to be a great shortage of sugar, which is a load of nonsense. But because they're so nervous, they have to have their sugar supplies in warehouses already for at least 2 years, I suppose, right? They sold a lot of sugar to these companies on the back of it was a week there was going to be shortage of sugar. Of course, it wasn't. I remember Gavin and I watching that. We had a bit of a laugh over that. But there you are. So this is gold. Well, it's certainly been acting fairly strong.
I was just going to say, I don't know, I need you to confirm, but there's this really high volume here at that level, and it's tested it again here.
Well, at the base here, look, there was definitely buying there, because you've got some of these red down bars after you see the substantial down move. And look at the high volume with these next bars up. That's buying. That's professional money has moved into the market there. Yeah, I've got a job to see it. But anyway, there's definitely buying there. Now, in hindsight, we know there was buying there. That's why it went up, look. But as it was running live, you'd have seen that high volume coming in. And then, not only that, it went up a few bars. It came back down and tested. It was so strong, look, that on these down bars here, there was absolutely no selling pressure at all, look, or very relatively. There was no selling pressure. So there was the point where you should have recognized strength. And that's what made it go up. Now these few red arrows here, note how they're tested. And that confirms the strength in gold. Whenever you see that, whenever you see a red arrow appear, like that, right? And the first or second bar's got a test on it, look. Yeah, test. Right? That means the professional money involved in that have seen this weakness, right? They wouldn't have seen our red arrows, but they would have seen the weakness that created the red arrow. And they tested the market. They have to test it. And whenever you see a successful test after red arrow, then that means our market's strong. Shot up, look. It's now over. That's right. It's overbought. Right, drifts off. Notice how it drifts back down to this level where they first had trouble here. Well, here. Now that's interesting, look. So I've just drawn the line across there, look. Have I done it right? There's the first weakness. And look, they come back down and test it. Test that level. And when the level has been set okay,
Test after shakeout.
There are, test. Whenever they see that test, the test means that there is no supply in that market at the moment. And that's why it's gone up. And that's why it's acting bullish at the moment. It'll keep on acting bullish until you see high volume on up bar with narrow spreads, or no demand and narrow spreads. But right now it's bullish, look. And you could even draw a trend line on that, look. First two lows.
Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First two lows. First high. Is that on high? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. So you'd expect that trend there to stay in place until weakness appears. And that'll appear on an up bar on high volume, narrow spreads. Don't forget it's volume spread analysis, so it's the volume or activity's got to be high, and the spread of the bar needs to be narrow. The narrowing is caused by every time a buy order comes in from outside, it's fairly satisfied fairly easily, and that tends to make the spread narrow on that bar. And that will produce a signal of some sort. So I would say gold right now is not weak and it's fairly strong. Okay.
Stephen has asked for pound, so we'll look at, he says, can you look at the pound with your view on which way it's going over the next week? So we'll go over to here and bring up the daily chart. Oh, we haven't got it here. Let's go to right, this is the pound, Tom. So I'm just putting up the bigger picture for you, and we'll try 30. Is that all right, or do you want less?
No, well, first of all, I'd like to see a trend line of some sort here.
Right, hang on. All right.
First high.
This here.
Yeah.
Huh?
First high.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. I feel very uncomfortable looking at the chart with no trend lines on. I've got so used to drawing them and kind of using them it's like a map almost, isn't it, of which way it's likely to go. Now, at the moment, you can see where the buying was. If you go way back here, look, there is high volume there, but you've got a substantial down move behind you. And there's a testing, look, confirming. Yeah, I'm just trying to there. Right, there's the testing. That test, look, is testing this volume here to make sure that the volume is still bullish, not bearish. They don't like ultra-high volume on these up bars. Now, whether this volume is 100% accurate, I don't know. But the chart's telling us that there was definitely activity here, and on that activity it went up, look, and then they will test, and there's the test, look. Right, on the test, look, up it goes. Notice how most of these charts behave in a similar way. Okay, goes up a little bit, really it's gone up on no demand, hesitates, come back down here, look.
Reversal.
And that's a sign of strength. Look, bottom reversal. Right, up it goes. Now you can see that these markets are manipulated because look at that. That there, that's a shakeout. Now you've got to live through that. When they ram it down that far. There's no signal on it. I was surprised there's no signal on it. But up it goes on that, look. And it's still going up. So this is like, more or less exactly like gold, look. It's in an uptrend. It's acting in a very similar way. It's acting in a similar way simply because all these markets work in the same way. These traders on the floor, this is what they do. Now, until you see high volume coming in on up bars, this pan will stay strong. And we haven't forgotten that there's a high over here as well. That's resistance to higher prices. So we've got to watch that. But right at the moment, that pound is acting bullish.
Question on this. What I'll do is I'll put on this bars on. Yeah. Edmund's asking, in this chart, on the last thrust, that's a term that I don't use, but Tom, you know what that means, do you? Thrust. The last thrust. Yeah. Volume is relatively high with a shorter thrust compared to the last one. Is there selling on the last second up bar?
Well, that's a very good observation because you're 100% correct, aren't you? That is a thrust up here, okay? And there is an increase in volume. And the spread is narrowed slightly. However, any widespread up like this with strength in the background, you've got to say to yourself that they're still trying to push that up. Although, as you say, there is some weakness there. But I doubt very much if there's enough weakness there to stop that going up in its tracks. But you're quite right. That's an up thrust look. There is an increase in volume. And the spread has relatively narrowed a bit. And that's probably why they're trying to test it there. But it's interesting. But it looks as if it wants to be bullish for the time being.
Okay, so if you've got any charts or any other questions, please put them on. Oleg is asking, what is the folder stronger on your watch list window? Well, that's a little watch list in its own. As we've sort of gone along over the weeks, we've been picking out stocks that are acting as strong or stronger than the index, and we created little watch lists for them. So, but as we said, that the market is behaving weak at the moment. So, as Tom always says, all boats rise and fall with the tide. So you might see stocks that are acting strong, and then we get a sudden turn in the index which can affect them. But we did our best to pick out stocks that were holding their own against the weakness of the index. Colin, can we look at the Aussie dollar? And Carlos, funnily enough, saying Australian dollar, can you check 1 hour chart, please? Okay, so, all right, so people are interested in the Aussie dollar. I wonder, have we got it over on the other?
No, on that list.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll go back to for the daily. If someone could give me the intraday. Oh, is it 6A? Is that the all right, okay. I'll have to probably put up, but we'll start with the daily chart first, and then we'll go to the hourly. So there's the larger picture, Tom, and then yeah, let's look at the overall. Oh, it's had a fair old move. Oh, look. It's had a fair move. I'm just pointing out to Tom because Tom can't see very well these charts. We have to have less bars. I'm just describing to him we've had this long fall and it sort of hit this sort of level and gone a bit sideways. So if I put up, that's 40, but I can put up less if you want. 30. Yeah.
Right, don't forget the Aussie dollar will respond exactly the same way as the rest of the currencies. And down here, look, there does appear to be some buying. There's a down bar, look. There's the increase in volume. Lots of yellow boxes appearing, or signals. Right, that's a red down bar.
I think that's no supply, that one. It's not a signal.
What, this one?
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yes, because although you can see the high volume coming in here, when it gets to this bar, look, it's down. And look at how low the volume is. So there's no selling pressure. That's a sure sign that wants to go up right at the moment there. And that's why it's gone up, look. Now it'll keep going up until you get high volume appearing on that bar, where the professional people that bought here will want to unload their holdings bought at these low levels. And to do that, they have to sell on up bars. So there we get a combination of high volume, narrow spreads on up bars, possibly followed by up thrust. Professional floor traders know exactly what's going on, and they gun the market up deliberately, catch stops, put people off. If you're clever enough to short the original weakness, and then it goes sideways somewhat, and then suddenly goes up, then that's designed to panic you, of course, and to shake you out of the trade. Perfectly good trade. Happens all the time. But all you can do is learn to live with it and trade it. But if you know what's going on, that'd be most of the battle left to keep you in a proper trade. And don't worry, you can always go back into a trade these days. Entering and leaving the market now is relatively cheap to what it used to be. The prices for in and out, even 10, 20 years ago, is horrendous. Now it's not.
So I'm going to put the 1 hour up.
Put the 1 hour up.
I'll read out the question as well.
Yeah.
this. From Carlos, Australian dollar, can you check the 1 hour chart please? It has high volume after sell-off and it went up. Well, Tom's just looking at the chart.
What's his actual question?
It says yesterday. Ah, right. Hang on. We'll go to yesterday.
Well, this now chart.
Hang on. We've got yesterday was the 15th.
Well, that was buying there. It's a shakeout. Look. Wouldn't be that far back, not yesterday.
Well, that's 2 p.m. our time yesterday. Right there, looks like they shook people out, he says, Carlos.
Yeah, they did.
Test after a shakeout.
Now, that is actually,
Potential stopping volume.
that is dead right. It's amazing how the computer can just calmly sit there in the background and read this. Okay, so that was definitely buying there, look. And that's what caused the up move, like that. However, right, there will come a time when those people that bought at those low levels will be anticipating taking profits. Now, they may not all take it together. They may have various opinions. But whenever you see this high volume like this, and the computer's bringing up signals to tell you that there was definitely some supply there, and that's what made that come off. Now, whether that supply is enough to create a bear market, we don't know. But there was definitely supply there. What was the question, Teresa?
I said there was a sell-off, but it went up.
Yeah, when you got that, yes.
Yeah, so that's right. That's what happened.
Yes, so it's going up now.
There's a signal on this here saying strength coming in.
Yeah, well, that means there's no supply.
Right.
That's quite possible. Very good.
So he's saying, does it look like a shakeout to you?
Not now,
Yesterday?
it was back there.
Yeah. So, yes, it was a shakeout yesterday, but not now. There's a bit of weakness come in, so we have to see what's going to happen. Gordon saying crude oil. So if I go to,
Always.
okay, yeah, do you want to?
Oh, go on.
No. I'm looking for. This is crude oil. Gordon is saying crude oil is close to a top and may be worth a look. So if we just put up a bigger picture, Tom. Right, so there's the top. If I could get that top in even 30. Yeah. So it's close to a top. Having said that, you've still got that. So have you got any comment on that, Tom? Crude oil, that is.
Yes, you've got to be careful with something like crude oil, because crude oil can be held up. It's so liquid, there's so much money involved. Trends will run a lot longer than you think they will. When a market keeps going up, right, you tend to build up a gut feeling. Oh, I say, well, it can't go any higher. And you've got this bad news here. So this is probably a top where you'll find it keeps going up. And right here, look, there certainly appears to be buying. Red down bars, very high volume. Even a test here, look, brought a signal up. That's bullish. Still bullish at the moment. So be careful about thinking it's not bullish.
Oh, well done, Tom, because it sounds like you've confirmed. Tony says that in his briefing, Gavin reckoned it was on the way up. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Tony. So he put an alert out, did he, about that? I believe so. Tony's put the link. Okay, so there are no more questions. Until there are, we will go back to what's going on. What time frame do you want?
Well, put up 7, see what they're saying.
This, oh, wow. Look at all that, we've got some signals there, but it's still fallen.
Wow.
Bit of volume come in there, but that's only the 7-minute.
Right, put something else like 20 minutes.
Oh.
So I think we've got a 20-minute up. And we had some strength here. Went up, the Sue ran out of steam, look, no demand on these up bars. Especially here, look, especially no demand there, here. Now whenever you see a green arrow like this appear, next bar's got to be up. And it tells you that in the text. And I think that could, that's not Sunday, is it, Rita?
No, that's 20 minutes, so that was at 5 o'clock, that closed.
Oh, I see, right, sorry, yeah. So the market falls, look, widespread down, right, so it pushes down through a former area of support, which is here. That's potentially bearish when that happens. And you could draw a trend line between these two tops and the bottom. Is there a top there? Yeah, two highs and the first low. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so that's not a strong sign. Whenever you get a widespread down, closing on the low with a slight increase in volume, it's a sign of weakness as it pushes down through a former area of support, which of course is a trend line. That's not healthy at all. And not sort of vehicle you want to be long in right at the moment. So if there's any questions, we'd love to hear them.
So the fact also that this has failed up here confirms this weakness, that it's still falling. There's the 1 hour, and this is the daily, we're still going down. So yep, this showing some weakness, definite weakness now. Yep, that's the 1 hour.
Sorry, what is it?
That's the 1 hour
What?
of the ES.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh gosh, we've got some, hang on. Right, we've got a few people asking for the Apple. Apple Daily from Oleg, Apple Weekly from Edmund. Oh, yeah, Chris is asking, is a failed test in its own right a signal for going short? We're just on that note, Tom, just as we mentioned it.
Well, I'm not quite sure to say yes, but it's certainly a sign of weakness. And you have to put that together according to the background behavior and things like that. But a test, if it's failed, the professional people will know that, see that straight away. And therefore they'll know the market is weak. And normally they will act on that. But I've often looked at the charts from a description of what somebody would tell me, and I see entirely different things. That's why I'm a bit reluctant to jump in and give a definite answer.
Yeah, people are asking, Tom, about what's your longer term view on the S&P. George says, should we be looking for potential climactic action that the smart money is buying this week? What's your long-term view? Is it still bullish? And is this just a normal retracement? George says my VSA program on the daily chart of the S&P showed volume was potential climactic action on yesterday's bar. Oh, we haven't got that. So should we watch for long signals? So Tom's asking, well, he says VSA program. What program? It's not Trade Guider. George, what program are you using? Trade Guider. All right. Yes, we haven't got one on our. Or was that the futures? This is end of day. But yeah, someone's suggesting it's different data. Oh, end of day. Futures. Well, let's go over to the. So really, what people are asking, Tom, is what's your long-term, view? This is the futures, actually. But here, hang on.
I would say it's potentially bullish. Trends always run longer than you think they will. There doesn't appear to be any horrendous, serious sign of strength above us. There doesn't appear to be any what we call a buying climax. It's just going up here and there on no demand. But it's been shaking out a lot, testing a lot. I would say this is potentially still bullish. Although right now it seems to be falling. That makes sense.
Go over to here again, sorry. All right, so Colin's saying, I have a trend channel on the ES, first low 16th November 2012. Hang on. 16th November 2012. So you're talking about here. So from there, and second low at 24th of June 13. So he's got. Let's have a go. Put this trend channel. Yeah. So he's going from here.
Yeah.
Is it sort of here? There? Let me have a look. I think it might be. Hang on. I haven't. Oh, door messed that up. Hang on. So I'm just. Yep. So I'm just checking. Is that 20? All right. So okay. Now I've got it. Hang on. Right. Start again. And the first high must be. Well, I'll concentrate on this now. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Tom. Bear with me. So here to here. Adjust now where we want the high. The high. It's put the high up there, Tom. Is that right? All right. Hang on. Hang on. Well, if I go to there, that's a bit. All right, actually.
That's quite a good trend line.
Okay, heavy lines. Okay, right. Sorry about that. I'm a bit slow. Oh, we're gonna have to. So ours is not doing what? High is at 22nd of May. I have this trend. The price is now approaching the lower quarter line in this trend channel. So, yeah. Oh God. Playing fields. So I can put right. Okay. Now, can you see that all right, Tom? So is that significant? The fact this is the lower quarter. It's approaching it. Does that have any significance to your analysis? Yeah.
No, they're very good trend lines. Very good. That gives you more or less what I just said, that the thing is trending up. And it's possible it'll keep on trending up because trends run longer than you think they will. It could easily drop down to that lower trend line, and certainly the whole idea of trend lines is that when the data reaches them, if this market's strong, you should see some response in the chart as it nears that lower trend line. If it's genuinely weak, then you'll see a wide spread down close near the low as it rushes towards the former area of support on increasing volume, not excessive volume, just an increase in volume. If it's excessive volume, then it means that there could possibly be buying in there, right? But if it's just an increase in volume, it means that it's potentially bearish. But we haven't seen that at the moment, and that trend line gives you a very good idea of what that S&P 500 is likely to do. Okay.
Okay, Carlos says, thank you for reminding us that in order to change trends, we need a serious sign of weakness like selling climax or obvious signs of distribution. That's right. Okay, a few more and then we'll have to finish. Gordon says, does it matter that there is less activity in August?
No, it doesn't matter, because professional money, they've got ways of trading this market. They're sitting out the yacht in the middle of the Atlantic. They'll find some way to do it. No, we're talking about serious trading. Right now, admittedly, in August, a lot of people pack up and go off. Right, but it's not going to affect the trading. It may see slightly lower volume, yes, but if there's opportunities there, professional money will spot it. Don't worry.
Oh yes, I saw this. Tom, this is Apple. We've had people want to look at the daily. This is the day. Just check it's the daily. Yeah, this is the daily chart, which certainly looking quite. There's high volume. And then also we want to look at the weekly. Which one do you want to look at first, Tom? Which is best? Right, so this is the daily.
Is there an old top somewhere here?
Hang on then. You have the headset and I'll put it up. I'll put up 200.
I'm just wondering why you got this terrific high volume suddenly.
Because there was a level there, or here. Then up here there was a no demand.
Yeah, well, it's gone up at the moment. There's very, very high volume. So that will normally affect this stock. But it obviously wants to be bullish. And all the time you get bullish indications, like these tests, look. That's a sure one. How many times we've mentioned this? Get a sign of weakness, red arrow, followed by a green one, a test. That means they want to go up. And there's another one. Red arrow, and that's a test, but there's no signal on that, but it's a test. It's a red down bar, narrow spread, close in the middle, and volume is relatively low. All the time you see that, it's going to go up. Even that one. But hit some supply at the moment. It's not the time to rush in and buy this, because the supply has hit the market there. But Apple looks bullish.
Shall I put the weekly?
Yeah. Rita's putting the weekly up.
I'm trying to.
Okay. It's so long since we put a weekly up.
Can someone tell me how to do it?
Rita's forgot how to do it. But this is obviously bullish. There's some supply at the moment. And for that to go up, they will need to test that. If it's still bullish, which it probably is.
Oh, chart convert weekly. Thank you to Edmund.
Edmund, thank you, Edmund.
Thank you. That's it. So this is the weekly chart of Apple.
Oh, yeah. That's very good, look.
So Edmund says it's in the midst of a breakout. Breaking out through this,
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, that is an example of a stock really acting stronger than the index. However, it hit some supply recently, and they'll want to test that. If you suddenly see a test, that's going to go on up. But this business of a red arrow appearing and testing next bar makes it very, very bullish. It's a tip worth looking at.
Do you want to do one more question? We are hitting our time. I'll do. Right, one more question because it's that time. I'm going to put up. I hope this works. Right, this is KOL or Col from David, this is the coal ETF. It had a nice bounce off the lows in July. So yeah, so here's it bounced. It had a bounce and has gone up. Tom, yeah. But cannot close above the trend line drawn from the highs of Feb 14 and May 21. So, shall I put up Do you want me to put trend?
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Where though?
First two lows. First high.
What, here?
Yeah, first two lows.
And that high?
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
there you go.
What stock is?
Coal, KOL, it's
Coal.
Coal ETF.
Right. Now this stock is definitely acting strong with the index. And of course this here, this gapping up here apparently looks like they're pushing up through supply to the left. And there's obviously signals down here, look. Looks like lack of supply. They gap it up, which is bullish. When you see these bars gapped up like this, that's bullish. Right? Obviously, it becomes overbought. And this looks like a test. This looks as if it wants to go up.
Not finished, of course, today.
No. But that, to me, looks bullish.
But that bar has not finished.
No, the bar, so be careful to analyze the bar before it's finished, because suddenly it changes. Anyway, I'll say thank you very, very much for listening to us. It's not all that easy at the moment. Look at these charts. It's the nature of the market. But once the professionals are in full control, analyzing these markets become far, far easier. So I'll say thank you very much for listening and good night.
Yes, we'll be back next Friday, same time, and I think we'll be doing the newsletter on Sunday this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you for your questions, and if we did not answer your question, please, you are welcome to put it in the forum. We'll look at them and answer them on there. So have a great weekend and a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.